Listen to me very carefully right now, because the next few minutes could change the way you look at every single difficulty you will ever face. Most people are not destroyed by their problems. They are destroyed by how they respond to their problems. Two people can face the exact same storm. One drowns in it. The other learns to build a ship inside of it. And the difference between those two people has nothing to do with luck, nothing to do with timing, nothing to do with intelligence. The difference is a skill almost no one teaches you, a skill almost no one practices on purpose, the skill of solving problems. So before you scroll away, ask yourself this honestly. What if the reason your life feels stuck is not because you have too many problems, but because you never trained yourself to solve them? Think about that for a moment. Think about it slowly. Here is the truth most people ignore. Life is not designed to be problem-free. Life is designed to be problem-rich. Every season of your life will bring its own version of difficulty. When you are young, you have the problem of not knowing. When you grow up, you have the problem of choosing. When you succeed, you have the problem of protecting what you built. When you fail, you have the problem of rebuilding. There is no version of your future where problems disappear. There is only a version of you that becomes bigger than the problems in front of you. And that version of you is not born. That version of you is built quietly, slowly, decision by decision, problem by problem. Let me ask you something. How many times in your life have you wished for things to be easier? Be honest. How many times have you prayed for the storm to stop instead of praying for the strength to walk through it? How many opportunities have passed you by because you waited for the perfect moment, the perfect conditions, the perfect timing? Most people spend their entire lives waiting for a smoother road, but the smoother road never comes. And while they wait, life keeps moving. Years go by, energy fades, dreams collect dust, and one day they look up and realize the road was never going to get easier. They were supposed to get stronger. Now listen carefully. Your life does not improve when your problems disappear. Your life improves when your ability to handle problems grows. That is the secret almost nobody talks about. Two people sitting in the same situation. Same job, same income, same family pressures, same disappointments. One is collapsing under the weight of it all. The other is calm, focused, taking small steps forward every day. What is the difference between them? It is not the problem. It is the person. And that means the most important thing you can ever work on is not your circumstances. It is yourself. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. Don't wish for less responsibility. Wish for more capability. Don't wish for fewer problems. Wish for more wisdom. Because the moment you start wishing for growth instead of comfort, your entire life begins to change direction. The weight does not get lighter. You get stronger. The road does not get shorter. You get faster. The challenges do not get smaller. You get bigger. And once you become bigger than your problems, the things that used to crush you become the things that build you. So let's talk about this practically. Let's go deeper, because thinking is not enough. Inspiration is not enough. You need to understand what is actually happening inside you when a problem appears. Because if you do not understand the pattern, you will keep repeating it. When a problem hits, most people do one of three things. They panic, they complain, or they quit. Let's be honest about each of these, because chances are you have done all three more times than you would like to admit. Panic is the first reaction. The mind goes wild. The heart starts racing. You start playing worst-case scenarios on a loop. You imagine losing everything. You imagine the worst conversation. You imagine failure that has not even happened yet. And in that storm of imagination, you cannot think clearly. You cannot see straight. You cannot make a single intelligent decision. Panic is not a solution. Panic is a paralysis. It freezes the part of you that is supposed to lead you out of trouble. And here is something important. The longer you stay in panic, the smaller you become in front of the problem. Because every minute spent in panic is a minute not spent in problem solving. Then comes complaining. This one is the most dangerous of all because it feels productive when it is not. You vent, you tell your friends, you post about it, you blame the economy, the boss, the partner, the parents, the past. And for a moment, it feels like you are doing something about it. But complaining changes nothing. Complaining does not pay the bill. Complaining does not heal the relationship. Complaining does not bring back the time you lost. Complaining is the comfort of the trapped. It gives you the illusion of motion while you stand perfectly still. Now ask yourself, how many hours have you given to complaining in the past year? Hours you could have used to fix the very thing you were complaining about. And then comes the final reaction. Quitting. Walking away. Telling yourself that maybe it just was not meant for you. Maybe you are not built for this. Maybe other people have something you don't. And once you start quitting, it becomes a habit. The next problem looks bigger. The next challenge looks scarier. Because every time you quit, you teach yourself that you are someone who quits. And every time you stay, you teach yourself that you are someone who stays. Your identity is being shaped right now by the way you respond to difficulty. Let that sink in. Every problem you face is voting for who you become. Now here is the good news. There is a fourth way, and almost nobody chooses it on purpose because nobody teaches it on purpose. The fourth way is to respond instead of react, to pause instead of panic, to analyze instead of complain, to adjust instead of quit. The fourth way is the way of the mature mind. And the moment you start choosing it, your entire life begins to bend in a new direction. Let me tell you something important. The mature mind does not run from problems. The mature mind walks toward them, not because it enjoys pain, not because it likes struggle, but because it understands a deep truth that most people never learn. Problems are the curriculum of life. Every problem is a teacher in disguise. Every problem has a lesson buried inside it. And if you keep running from your problems, you keep running from your lessons. And if you keep running from your lessons, you keep repeating the same circle for the rest of your life. Have you ever noticed how some people keep facing the exact same kind of problem over and over? The same money problems, the same relationship problems, the same career problems, the same self-doubt, the same patterns of failure. Different year, same story. And you wonder, why does this keep happening to them? It is not because life is unfair to them. It is because they never learned the lesson the first time. So life gave it to them again and again and again until they were ready to listen. Now ask yourself, what lesson has life been trying to teach you that you keep refusing to learn? Sit with that question. Don't rush past it. The honest answer to that question is more valuable than 1,000 motivational videos. Because once you see the lesson, you can finally outgrow the problem. Now let's go deeper. Let's talk about how to actually build the skill of solving problems. Because skill is the key word here. Problem solving is not a gift. It is not a personality trait. It is not something you are born with. It is a skill, which means it can be learned, which means it can be practiced, which means it can be developed by anyone willing to put in the work. And once you understand that, you stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances and start seeing yourself as an architect of capability. The first step is the pause. Before you do anything, pause. Before you reply to the message, pause. Before you make the decision, pause. Before you react to the emotion, pause. The pause is the most underrated tool in human history. In the pause is your power. In the pause is your wisdom. In the pause is the difference between an answer you regret and an answer that changes your life. Most people lose their lives in the first 5 seconds of a problem because they did not take the pause. They reacted with fear, with anger, with desperation. And those 5 seconds set in motion years of regret. Train yourself to pause. Train yourself to breathe. Train yourself to wait one extra moment before you speak, before you act, before you decide. That single habit will save you more pain than any other discipline you can build. The second step is to separate the emotion from the problem. Because here's what most people do wrong. They mix the two. They think the emotion is the problem. The fear is not the problem. The fear is your reaction to the problem. The anger is not the problem. The anger is your reaction to the problem. The hurt is not the problem. The hurt is your reaction to the problem. If you cannot separate your emotion from the situation, you will spend all your energy fighting your feelings instead of fixing your reality. So learn to ask yourself 2 questions. What am I feeling right now? And what is actually happening right now? 2 completely different things. Once you separate them, you can manage one with patience and solve the other with strategy. The third step is to define the problem clearly. This sounds simple, but most people never do it. They walk around with a vague feeling that something is wrong, but they cannot put their finger on what it is. And you cannot solve what you cannot name. So take out a notebook, a piece of paper, the Notes app on your phone, and write down exactly what the problem is. Not how you feel about it, not who you blame for it, just the problem itself, in plain words. Because the moment a problem moves from a feeling in your chest to a sentence on paper, it shrinks. It becomes manageable. It becomes something you can examine instead of something that consumes you. The fourth step is to ask better questions. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your questions. Most people ask weak questions. Why is this happening to me? Why am I so unlucky? Why does this always happen? These questions take your power away. They put you in the victim seat. They invite excuses and self-pity. The strong question is different. The strong question asks, what can I do about this? What is one thing I can change today? What is the lesson here? What would the strongest version of me do in this situation? Strong questions move you forward. Weak questions keep you stuck. So the next time you face a problem, listen to the questions in your own mind. And if they are weak, replace them right then, right there. The fifth step is to break the problem down. A big problem is rarely one problem. A big problem is usually 10 small problems stacked together, pretending to be one. And the reason it feels so heavy is because you are trying to lift all 10 at once. Stop. Break it down. What are the smaller pieces of this problem? What is the first piece I can handle today? What is the next piece I can handle tomorrow? Because here is the truth. You cannot eat the whole mountain, but you can take one bite. And if you take one bite every day, the mountain disappears. Not in a moment, not in a miracle, but slowly, steadily, quietly, through the discipline of small, consistent actions. The sixth step is to take action even when the path is not clear. This is where most people freeze. They want to know the entire route before they take the first step. They want guarantees. They want certainty. But life does not give certainty. Life gives feedback. You take one step, you see what happens. You adjust. You take another step, you see what happens. You adjust. That is how every great life has ever been built. Not with a perfect plan, but with imperfect movement followed by intelligent correction. So stop waiting for the perfect strategy. Start with what you know. Start with what you have. Start where you are. The next step will reveal itself once you begin walking. Now let me ask you something. How many problems in your life right now could have been solved already if you had simply started? Not finished, started. How many things have been sitting on your to-do list for weeks, for months, for years, waiting for a perfect moment that never comes? Be honest. The honest answer hurts. But the honest answer also wakes you up. Because the truth is, you already know what to do. You just have not done it yet. Now let's go even deeper, because there is something else nobody tells you about problem solving. The greatest problem solvers in history were not the most intelligent people. They were the most patient. They were the most persistent. They were the people who refused to give up when the first three solutions did not work, when the fourth did not work, when the 10th did not work. Patience is a superpower in a world of quitters. Patience is the silent muscle behind every breakthrough, because every problem worth solving will resist you. Every dream worth chasing will test you. Every goal worth achieving will demand that you stand at the wall and keep knocking, long after most people would have walked away. Think of the farmer. The farmer plants the seed, and then nothing happens for a long time. No tree, no fruit, no visible reward, just dirt, just waiting, just trust. And every day, the farmer keeps watering, keeps watching, keeps believing in what cannot yet be seen. Most people would give up by week 3. They would dig up the seed and complain that the soil is broken. But the farmer knows something they do not. Underneath the surface, roots are forming. Growth is happening. Just because you cannot see the progress does not mean there is no progress. Your life works the same way. The work you are doing right now, the discipline you are building right now, the problem you are quietly solving right now may not show up for months, but it is forming roots. And one day, the harvest will come. And people will call it luck, but you will know better. You will know it was the patience nobody saw. Here is something important. Most people overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in a year. They want the storm to clear in 7 days. They want the wound to heal in 7 days. They want the business to grow in 7 days. And when it does not, they call themselves failures. But 7 days is nothing. 7 days is a blink. The real changes in your life happen on the scale of seasons, not days. Give yourself seasons. Give yourself months. Give yourself the right to grow at the pace of real growth, not the pace of social media. Because real change is slow. Real change is quiet. Real change does not trend, it transforms. Now let me say something that might be uncomfortable. Sometimes the problem is not the situation. Sometimes the problem is you. And until you have the courage to look in the mirror and consider that possibility, you will keep blaming circumstances that are not the real cause of your pain. Have you ever had a problem follow you from one job to another? From one relationship to another? From one city to another? You changed everything around you, but the problem stayed. That is a clue. That is life whispering to you. The problem is not the place. The problem is the pattern. And the pattern lives inside you. Until you change it, the problem will follow you everywhere you go. The most courageous thing a human being can do is take responsibility for the part they played in their own struggle. Not to punish themselves, not to drown in guilt, but to finally take back the power to change. For things to change, you have to change. There is no other equation. You cannot keep the same habits and expect different results. You cannot keep the same mindset and expect a different life. You cannot keep the same circle and expect a different version of yourself. Something must change. And the only thing fully in your control is you. So the question is not whether life is fair. The question is whether you are willing to grow. Because if you are willing to grow, life will always give you something to grow through. Now ask yourself this. Who would you be 1 year from today if you committed to solving one problem in your life every single month? 12 problems solved in 12 months. Imagine the version of you that emerges on the other side of that. The financial problem you finally faced. The health pattern you finally broke. The conversation you finally had. The fear you finally walked through. The dream you finally started. 12 problems. 12 victories, 12 doors opening. That is not magic. That is not luck. That is what happens when an ordinary human being decides to stop running from difficulty and start building capability. Let me tell you a truth that took me years to understand. The size of your life is determined by the size of the problems you are willing to solve. Small problems, small life. Big problems, big life. Most people want a big life with small problems. It does not exist. The bigger your dreams, the bigger the obstacles. The bigger the obstacles, the bigger the version of you required to overcome them. And the bigger that version of you becomes, the bigger your life expands. That is the law nobody teaches in school. You are not paid for your time. You are paid for the value of the problems you solve. The bigger the problem you can solve, the bigger the life you can build. So instead of running from challenges, run toward them. Instead of avoiding hard things, choose hard things on purpose. Because hard is where you grow. Hard is where you sharpen. Hard is where you become someone the easy version of you would not recognize. Let me ask you something else. When was the last time you sat down with yourself and really evaluated your experience? Not just lived it, evaluated it. Because experience by itself does not make you wiser. Experience without reflection just makes you older. Two people can go through the exact same 10 years of life. One comes out wise, the other comes out bitter. The difference is reflection. The difference is asking yourself the hard questions at the end of every week, every month, every year. What did I learn? What did I miss? What did I do well? Where did I fall short? What do I want to do differently next time? This is how you turn raw experience into refined wisdom. This is how you make sure your past actually serves your future instead of just haunting it. Now, here is something powerful. Every problem you have ever solved is a tool you carry for life. Every fear you have ever walked through is now a weapon in your hands. Every heartbreak you survived, every failure you came back from, every betrayal you forgave, every moment you wanted to quit but did not, every dark night you outlasted, all of it lives inside you now as proof. Proof that you have done hard things before. Proof that you can do hard things again. Most people forget their wins. They remember every wound and forget every victory. Don't do that to yourself. Remember what you have already overcome, because that memory is your most powerful weapon when the next problem walks through the door. Look around at your life right now. There are people sitting in the prison of problems they have already escaped from before. They forgot. They forgot the version of themselves that handled hardship. They forgot the version of themselves that figured it out last time. They started believing the new problem is bigger than they are. But it is not. The new problem is just unfamiliar. And anything unfamiliar feels overwhelming until you remember that you have built yourself before, and you can build yourself again. Now let's talk about something most people never consider: the role of community in solving problems. Because here is the truth. You were never meant to face everything alone. The lone wolf story is a romantic lie. Even the strongest people in history had someone in their corner: a mentor, a friend, a spouse, a coach, someone who could see what they could not see, someone who could speak truth when they were too tired to think clearly. Look at your circle right now. Be honest. Are the people around you helping you solve problems or helping you stay stuck in them? Because some people will pull you forward and some people will hold you back. Some friendships are bridges and some friendships are anchors. You have the right to choose. You have the responsibility to choose. Because in the end, who you surround yourself with becomes who you are. So choose people who challenge you to grow. Choose people who have already solved the kind of problems you are facing. Choose people whose presence in your life is making you stronger, not smaller. And here is something else. Sometimes you have to become your own mentor. Because the truth is, you may not always have a wise person sitting next to you. So learn to ask yourself the question: what would a wiser version of me say right now? What would a calmer version of me do right now? What would the version of me 5 years from now, looking back, want me to do today? Those questions are gold. Those questions create distance between you and your panic. Those questions give you access to wisdom you did not even know you had. Practice them. Use them. Build a relationship with the wisest version of yourself, because that version is waiting inside you, just under the surface of your fear. Now let me tell you something I want you to remember for the rest of your life. Problems are not punishment. Problems are preparation. Every challenge you face right now is preparing you for a level of life you cannot yet see. The strength you are building today is the strength tomorrow will demand. The patience you are practicing today is the patience your future will require. The discipline you are developing today is the discipline your dreams cannot live without. Nothing is wasted. Not the struggle, not the setback, not the slow season, not the silent years. It is all preparation. And the moment you start trusting that, the weight of your problems begins to shift from a burden to a blessing. Most people complain about the very thing that is making them stronger, the very thing that is teaching them, the very thing that 10 years from now, they will look back on and thank God they went through. Stop fighting the lesson. Start learning it. Stop cursing the storm. Start studying it. Stop wishing for the easy road. Start building the strong feet that can walk any road life sets in front of you. Now hear me clearly. Your problem-solving ability is your life-building ability. Every dream you have ever had is sitting on the other side of a problem you have not yet learned to solve. Want a better body? There is a problem to solve. Want a better income? There is a problem to solve. Want a better relationship? There is a problem to solve. Want peace of mind? There is a problem to solve. Everything you want is hidden inside the very challenge you have been avoiding. The avoidance is the prison. The solving is the freedom. And the only key is your willingness to grow. Let me ask you one more time. What problem in your life have you been avoiding? The one you keep pushing to next week. The one you keep telling yourself you will deal with later. The conversation, the decision, the truth, the bill, the doctor's visit, the apology, the dream, the change. What is it? Name it right now in your own mind. Be brave enough to name it. Now here is your assignment. Take one step toward it today. Not the whole thing. Just one step. Make the call. Open the document. Have the conversation. Schedule the appointment. Write the first sentence. Do the first push-up. One step. Because one step today plus one step tomorrow plus one step the day after that is how every single great life has ever been built. Not in giant leaps, in quiet steps, step by step, day by day, problem by problem. Now think about who you will be 1 year from today if you become a person who solves problems instead of running from them. Think about the freedom that lives on the other side of that habit. Think about the confidence you will carry into every room. Think about the calm that will live in your chest when the next storm comes. Because the next storm is coming. That is not a threat. That is a promise. Life will keep delivering challenges to your door. But the difference is, the new you will not flinch. The new you will not collapse. The new you will look the problem in the eye and say, I have been built for this. I have prepared for this. I have practiced for this. And I am ready. That is the version of you we are building right now. That is the version of you waiting just on the other side of one more honest decision. That is the version of you who stops being broken by life and starts being shaped by it. So let me leave you with this. Don't pray for an easy life. Pray for the wisdom and strength to handle a meaningful one. Don't run from your problems. Run toward your growth. Don't curse the obstacle. Climb it. Because in the end, you will not remember the years that were easy. You will remember the moments you became stronger. You will remember the night you almost quit and did not. You will remember the morning you got up and tried one more time. You will remember the problem you finally solved, the wall you finally broke, the version of you that finally emerged. For things to change, you have to change. For your life to get better, you have to get better. For your problems to shrink, you have to grow. And the moment you accept that, the moment you stop waiting for life to be easier and start working on yourself to be better, everything begins to shift. Quietly at first, then powerfully, then permanently. So start today. Start with the pause. Start with the question. Start with the one small step. Start with the courage to face what you have been avoiding. Because somewhere out there, the future version of you is watching. Watching to see if today is the day you finally decide to become the person who solves problems instead of being defined by them. Don't make that future you wait any longer. The next chapter of your life is written by what you choose to do right now. So choose strength, choose growth, choose the harder path that builds the better you. And remember this always. Your life does not get better when problems disappear. Your life gets better when you do.